Alright, another DraftPhysics.com video presentation. Kind of a special off hours. Because the physicist Michael, correct pronunciation, he left a comment because he had removed one of the trolls, had again doxed me, blah blah blah, and he removed it and let me know he removed it. And anyway, so I comment and I say, appreciate what should be the common courtesy. It's unfortunate the internet disagreements have to be turned into internet wars by trolls wishing to prevent a fair fight, right? That's all we want here is a fair fight. All we want is, right, everybody should agree, that's all we're really saying is let's have a battlefield of ideas. Let's put the facts on the table, real facts, okay, not circular crapola where you say my one crazy formula agrees with this crazy formula, therefore it must be true, because double crazy means sane. No, it really doesn't. Anyway, I mean, we should be able to agree on what evidence is, okay? I mean, if you're going to say it takes 4 times the fuel to go twice as fast, you ought to have a real experiment where you show us the gasoline and you show us using 4 times as much. Or you show us the dynamite, or you show us the thing, the actual substance. You don't just make up and say, well, it has 400,000 joules of energy. Trust me. No, I don't trust you. Anyway. But it is also unfortunate that many fair fights are avoided by participants unwilling to defend what they assert. And again, how do you get any clearer than that? Then I'm saying I'll pay you to actually play my argument and counter it. How much does it cost for you to play my argument and then you counter it? That shouldn't be something you can't manifest as a function. If you're going to be in this battlefield of ideas, that's sort of what is required, frankly. That's how you play fair. All right, that many fair fights are avoided by participants only to defend their what they assert. Your physics has had 350 years to produce visual experimental evidence. It takes 4 times the fuel to go twice as fast, and it can show nothing. Nothing that isn't circular. I mean, in this case, he uses an experiment where gravity is creating the energy. He says gravity is a distant dependent force. That is, the further you go in gravity, the more gravity you collect. When, no, it's about how long you're in the gravity. And I can make that argument, and I think I can make it decisively. 9.8 meters per second. How many times do I have to say it? Per second, not per foot. Anyway, that's one of the arguments you have to counter. You have to explain how you're sure it's per foot, even though it says per second. Okay. It's kind of an extraordinary claim, and you should have at least ordinary evidence. Okay, so he bothered to reply, which I'm thankful for, but it's not a reply. It's not a counter argument on the subject. That's what I'm seeking. All right. So he says, starts with your dishonesty. So again, there's nothing dishonest. I completely believe your physics is silly, sloppy rubbish. Okay, that big giant chunks of it were just jumped to the any conclusion. We don't know how it happened. Somebody shows up and says the magic rabbit did it. And because there's crickets everywhere else and nobody else is suggesting anything wacky, you just go with the wacky theory. I mean, it's stupidity in a vacuum. Because, yeah, there was no authority. No UFO showed up and explained how it worked to you. So you had to figure it out on your own, and you figured it out badly. And you did it overtly badly in the sense that in 350 years, you couldn't be bothered to compile some evidence to demonstrate your proclaimed truth. All right, so there's no dishonesty here, okay? Call me an asshole, call me lots of things, but what I am not is being dishonest. Jesus. And lack of self-awareness, whatever the fuck that means. So if I'm right, then you're the one with lack of self-awareness then, right? So this is just another poop. This is just ad hominem poo. You're saying, oh, I want this higher level. I only operate on the higher level. Yeah, no, sorry, no sale. This is low-level ad hom crapola. Lack of self-awareness, which I'd be aware of. Donald Trump is really, really smart. I mean, your theories of physics are just as dumb as some idiot thinking Donald Trump believes in God. You think so? I think it's a pretty dumb theory. If you have that theory, you're a fucking imbecile. Alright, seems to know no bounds. So whatever that is, yeah. And I can say the same thing about your physics, your cowardice, your duplicity, your shenanigans, doing these little jerky experiments where you can, you're trying all kinds of ways to do the experiment in as unclear a way as possible. When a lever proves the case, a spring proves the case, a gear proves the case, a hydraulic system proves the case. It either conserves momentum or conserves kinetic energy. Whichever one it conserves, that's going to end up being the real thing. And the other thing's going to be nonsense. That's the only way it can work out. The two can't be conserved. You can't, do I really have to explain to you how, because of the squared term, there's no way the two can be conserved in an experiment where you change the mass? Who's being dishonest? You're telling me you're too stupid to figure that out? That both of them can't be conserved if I'm converting the energy from one torque or one mass to another mass, and I'm converting all of the energy into the other mass, that I can't possibly conserve both of these entities? Crap. Alright, so I haven't read any of this yet. I saw the first sentence. I saw the word dishonesty, and I said, oh, come on. You can't do better than that? You think I've spent 10 fucking years of my life watching physics videos, and the last 2 years arguing something that shouldn't even have to be argued because there should be plenty of frickin' evidence, and you're going to call me dishonest? Alright. Your claim that you want common courtesy. That's not what I claimed, jackass. What I claimed is blocking people who are invading other people's personal space to attack them on the internet. It should be a common courtesy of a channel provider to say, no, you're not going to do that on my channel. I'm not going to enable you to be a terrorist. Fuck. So you can't even get this right? And don't like internet trolls. Yeah. Duh. But your video contains, I don't know what that is, litany of direct insults. Yeah, because you insulted me first, fuckhead. I've made real arguments and you said they're not arguments, okay? I drew a fucking lever and I challenged you to just show me how the fuck it doesn't conserve energy. Okay, how it doesn't conserve momentum. Alright, and you ran from that challenge. I challenged you that it's 9.8 meters per second. And I challenged you to tell me how it's really per foot or per meter. Oh, it's about distance. I challenged you to explain how any of the evidence points to it being about distance. Okay, and how all the evidence points to it about it being per second. Okay, Newton didn't say per second per second. He didn't say per second squared. He didn't say any of that shit. He said 9.8 meters per 1 fucking second. Every 1 second you get 9.8 meters. What does that have to do with per foot? Oh, that's right, it has absolutely nothing. And you completely evaded the argument and says, oh, that's not a counter argument. Yeah, it is. So of course I'm insulting you. I asked you directly, how much do I have to fucking pay you to actually counter-argue my arguments? Play my fucking argument and counter it. Show me, when I say something like, well, if I can make a 10-ton train out of a 5-ton train, that is, I can combine 2 5-tons and get a 10-ton, and I can conserve the momentum, why can't I do the opposite and conserve the momentum? Too silly. Levers work one way, but they don't work the other way. Yeah, you can get the energy from heavy things into... You can get the energy from light things into heavy things, but you can't get the energy from light things into... From heavy things into light things. Anyway. But your video contains a litany of direct insults that have nothing to do with the data. Oh, yes, they do. And again, he says this fucking bullshit. Have nothing to do with the data. It's about the argument, okay? And your data is part of an experiment. And the whole theory of the experiment I clearly explained, and I'll do it again. Okay, you liar. All right, I'll do it again. I did it 3 times now. I'll do it a 4th frickin' time, and I'll explain to you the counter theory regarding your dada. Okay, the counter theory is that any time you apply friction to a falling object, anything you do to slow down its fall, it has a speed. It goes from here to here, and it'll do that in a certain amount of time. Okay? Now, if I apply some countering force, something to stop it from doing that, it doesn't mean it's not still in gravity. Gravity is a constant force, so it doesn't care whether it's moving or not moving, just like it doesn't care that we're not moving. It's still pushing us every second with 9.8 meters of pushing pressure. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether it is falling or it isn't falling, it's getting hit. Okay, the water's going into the bucket. And the whole point is that if I apply, okay, like you did, a friction, that is, I tie a string to it and it has to drag something to fall, well, then it's going to fall slower. And when it falls slower, that means more time. And more time means it is collecting more force in the bucket that whole time. And that whole time, that force is going into your friction. So if you want to know how much friction you created, you just say, how much slower did it fall? If I have its free fall speed, time, the amount of time it takes to fall that distance in free fall, and then I just take and say that's 20 milliseconds, and then I just take that time and I say, well, what did it fall when I applied this friction to it? Well, if it if it took 30 milliseconds, I know the difference is 10. I mean, and that's the extra force you had to apply to some object. Okay, that made the difference in the falling time, and the falling time is just going to mean more energy went into the object, period. I mean, it went into the friction. So I explained how you can't just say this is a constant force, whether it falls really, really slowly or it falls really, really fast, that it collected the same force. I'm saying it's a time-dependent force. If you're in the gravity, free falling longer, and there's something slowing you down, whatever's slowing you down is collecting the gravity that's missing, so to speak, that's not allowing you to fall. So I explained why the time theory, okay, is perfectly valid, and there's no reason for me to accept your interpretation of the data. All right. That includes your assumption that gravity is the same. No matter how fast something moves through it, it's the same amount of gravity. No matter how fast I move in front of a paint sprayer, it's the same amount of paint hitting me. I'm saying that theory is garbage, okay, clearly. And you're evading answering the point. Does gravity work like a spray paint? The longer you're in it, the more paint that gets on you. The less time you're in it, the less paint gets on you. You can only collect the force while you're free falling. As soon as you're touching something else, you're losing the force. All right. So he does a bunch of time codes, particularly egregious. This is just where I stopped watching. So again, I would just say that's another, I can just call you a pathetic coward now. I have to watch all kinds of crap videos, okay? But if they're on the subject, frankly, I watch them. So if they're making a point, then I'm going to watch it. I'm going to see what the point is. All right? So you're saying you just are so full of yourself, okay, and, you know, so unchallengeable that first you won't let me pay you to answer the questions, and you won't even listen to the questions. You, sir, are a troll. So he's calling this trolling. So when you counter-argue their theory, it's trolling. All right? Did I bring up your personal life? Did I do any of that shit? No. That's trolling, asshole. Did I bring up some other affiliation you have with like some dance contest you enter or something? No. That's trolling, fucktard. This is what's called a counter-argument to the religious babble, okay, you're trying to smash into the mind of man. All right. You claim that I have avoided defending my position overtly. I mean, you didn't even come close to answering a single one of my thought experiments or answering any of the simple points about how, well, we don't have the lever experiment, do we? I mean, the simplest experiment you can imagine, and physics hasn't done it. In 350 years, they haven't bothered dropping the 10 mass on one side of the lever and see if a 5 mass goes twice the speed on the other side. They couldn't be bothered. All right. Defending my position and haven't countered your claims. Yes, you haven't come anywhere close to my claims. All you've done is assert my data is perfect. Data, 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 data. Okay. Where did you counter my counterclaim that you proved in your experiment that springs don't conserve momentum? That I can compress them with one thing and they won't produce the same amount of momentum when I uncompress them. All I have to do is put a different weight on and I get a different amount of momentum back. I think that's a bold claim. You're asserting it in your video. But I have produced multiple videos, so let's understand these are generic, out of the physics box, out of the book, bullshit, in my opinion, experiments. There's no such thing as free momentum. I showed the diagram of the free energy machine. I mean, I've drawn it 100 times now at least in these videos. 100 times. No exaggeration. 100 times. And nothing. Nothing. No one will explain to me how, well, it doesn't work that way. Because to do that, they have to claim that levers don't conserve momentum. And so we're right back to the beginning again, aren't we? Why doesn't physics have that experiment somewhere where they show us how levers don't conserve momentum? And responded in comments addressing some of your many misunderstandings. So you're still calling them that. Yeah. Yes, you misunderstand. Okay, you're an idiot. There. Touche. Okay. Not understanding that vectors. Hell, here we go again. This baby talk. Oh, somewhere in physics, I pointed out, all right, so this is more of the stuff, I've already argued this over and over. I said it right in the video to you, okay, that this was just made up in the 1800s, okay? In the 1800s, they decided they had to do this vectory crap. That's when they put the 1/2 in front of it and made the work equation out of 1/2 mv squared. It's all circular crap. There's no such thing as, and the train has energy, okay, when we're talking about its motion, its mechanical motion energy. We're not talking about turning it into a nuclear bomb. We're not talking about how much energy is in its atoms. We're talking about how much energy is in its motion. And its motion for kinetic energy and for momentum is obviously both identical. If you believe in one, you have to believe it's a vector. If you believe in the other, you have to believe it's a vector. There's no choice. It's riding down a fucking track. How can it not be a vector? I mean, it's just such... This is ridiculous. Okay, have direction. And the different units matter. So again, the units are derivatives of each other, so let's not pretend a joule isn't a watt. It's a watt. So you should be able to produce wattage. You should be able to show me this extra energy. You should show the 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour, the 5 mass going 10 velocity, producing twice as many watts of electricity as the 10 mass going 5 velocity. You should be able to show me an experiment where that actually happens. You don't have any in 350 years. All you have is dropping round things into clay and rolling objects, okay, which is in gravity. Gravity's friction rolling an object. And in gravity, yes, you get 4 times the distance for only twice the velocity. So what? Okay, you didn't do 4 times the work. You certainly didn't collect 4 times the force. All right, definitions of both momentum and energy. That's different units matter. So again, he says it again. I'm just saying we know a Newton, 10 newtons equals a joule. We know a watt is a joule. So why play these games? All right. Definitions of both momentum and energy. Why momentum is only conserved for systems with no external forces. There's no such system with no external forces. I can't have a system if I don't allow something to introduce the energy. I have to compress the spring before I can have the experiment. I have to introduce the energy source. I mean, this is a ridiculous distinction. All right, which doesn't apply to levers and springs on their own. It doesn't matter. The simple question is, I cause an action on one side of a lever. Does a lever conserve the energy or doesn't it? Okay, the momentum in this case. Does it conserve momentum or does it conserve kinetic energy? Okay, it's a simple enough question. All right, and the same question goes to bowling balls and lots of other stuff. Can I throw a half as light ball twice as fast or can't I? Is it somehow impossible for me to throw something twice as light, twice as fast, because the kinetic energy rules say I'm not conserving the kinetic energy? I mean, where do you have any evidence of this crap, okay, that the 8-pound ball has twice the energy? All right. Adding up to over 3,500 words. What does that have to do with anything? I should add up how many words are in a video? Fuck. Anyway, and a lot of my time. So again, I asked you, what do you want me to fucking pay you? All right, to actually play my actual argument and counter it. How much do I have to pay you for your freaking time to actually address my actual point? To actually draw a lever and say it doesn't conserve momentum. Okay, I can't drop the 5 mass twice the distance from the fulcrum and expect the 10 mass one distance from the fulcrum to leave with 1/2 the speed. I can't expect that to be true. Say those words. All right. Even if you don't agree with my responses, it's not about agreeing with them. They're non-responsive. I said it to you 3 times in the text. Your responses are non-responsive. I haven't avoided them. Well, that's what non-responsive is completely avoiding them by showing me crappy experiments I've already seen before. And as I've demonstrated, Professor Lewin resorted to blobbing clay on the damn carts to get it to work. He cheated, clearly. You, sir, are dishonest. So you said it again. You, sir, have shitty theories. Your theory that I am dishonest, I think, in time, okay, over the annals of time, will be proved to be another one of your bad theories. That you really didn't think very hard. You didn't really spend any time digging into the truth there. All right, and you said something stupid. Okay, just like defending kinetic energy theory, you made a frickin' mistake. And you're just showing how bad science is because you have your little lab coat, you've been trained to be careful, and are you being careful? No. Simple answer. Are you demanding evidence before you believe? No. Are you demanding that your theory be non-contradictional? That you don't have elements in it that just contradict each other overtly? No. All right. You claim that I provide no evidence. Yes, we've already heard that claim. And don't back up my claims. I'm saying you're not producing any evidence that isn't circular, if you understand the point circular. Okay, you tell me how much energy went in and you tell me how much energy went out. All right, you don't show me. But your failure to understand what evidence is, some more baby talk. I understand, again, if somebody shows me, okay, that, they have put a certain amount of wattage into a battery, it has a certain capacity to produce a certain amount of energy out, okay, and you show me that it takes 4 times the electricity to make the motor go twice as fast or something like that. Just show it. But you don't have any of those experiments. It's not my failure to provide it. Okay, that's just nonsense. The numbers that you outright dismiss, I clearly dismiss any notion that springs give more energy to heavy things than they give to light things. So if I put a heavy thing on the spring doesn't give me more energy, more momentum than if I put a light thing on the spring. That springs do produce a consistency in their production of pressure and what is essentially weight. And weight is momentum, and they will conserve momentum. And so, yes, in that case, those experiments where you got twice more than, okay, theoretically twice the energy out of the larger objects, twice the momentum, is nonsense. And you say you conserve kinetic energy, and I'm obviously saying, obviously, there was a mistake made, because you can't destroy momentum. Are measurements from the experiment. Yeah. And so you're saying that you don't have any, there's no way you made a mistake in conducting the experiment. I'm saying that obviously you did make a mistake. Your instrumentality produced a fart instead of an actual good result. Okay, there are no opinions or claims. There are no, except your claim that it's a pristine experiment that was done correctly. I'm claiming it must not be because it's violating what is a real law of physics. Okay, they are not your arbitrary diagrams. Again, my diagrams are nowhere close to arbitrary. There's nothing arbitrary about drawing a lever and asking the simple question, what the fuck does it conserve? Kinetic energy or momentum? Because guess what? Whatever one it conserves, that's the real stuff. There's nothing arbitrary of me drawing a spaceship and saying, well, look, I shoot a 10 mass going 5 out of this side, and I shoot a 5 mass going 10 out of that side. What the fuck do you think the spaceship does? And if your answer is it keeps going straight, then you've just conceded the argument. You've just conceded that momentum is real energy and kinetic energy is a fable. But I can't get you to say that. Tell me what you think happens. What happens to the spaceship? I fire the gun, for example, or whatever. I gave you the gun example. I'm just saying, no, let's just say at the same time I decide to shoot 10 mass going 5 this way, 5 mass going 10 that way. What happens to the spaceship? Will you answer the question? And frankly, if you answer with, well, because there's twice as many joules going that way, the ship must turn this way in obedience to Newton's laws. Well, Newton's laws only apply to momentum, remember? Because that's all Newton believed in was momentum. And let's remember, Newton had all these right answers. Newton didn't give us wrong answers. Newton didn't need to be fixed. And the whole argument is about you guys decided to fix it. You fixed the perfectly good theory and broke it, obviously, with a rubbish pile of figment. Okay, let's see where we are. Okay, there are no opinions or claims. They are not your arbitrary. So again, let's just be clear. There's no arbitrary diagrams. I draw a gear, I draw a spaceship, I draw a lever. I ask the simple question, do you have the guts to admit that what you're really claiming, which is that momentum doesn't have to be conserved? Okay, that you draw and then arbitrary, I guess, is that the same word? Yeah, arbitrarily again, assign values to. I'm saying to you, there's no way to conserve both. That I can draw, that explanation. I can show how v squared is going to end up making the other velocity very weak, and the mass isn't going to be able to overcome it because it's not mass squared. So unless you square the mass, the v squared is going to make it impossible to conserve both of these entities. You can't conserve both kinetic energy and momentum in an experiment where you exchange the energy from a light thing to a heavy thing, or from a heavy thing to a light thing. And levers and gears and springs and hydraulics are all capable of doing that. All right. Yet you give no responses other than flat denial. So again, what a liar. I mean, no responses except my articulated explanations. I said so he's saying that it's just flat denial for me to say it's not 9.8 meters per foot or per meter. It's 9.8 meters per 1 second. That's the formula. You saying per second doesn't change. That's the real formula. That's how much energy you're really getting, is 9.8 meters of velocity okay, per unit one of time in seconds, not in feet. That's called a counter argument. How can you argue it's a per foot or per meter force when it clearly says right overtly right to you it's per 1 second, 1 unit of time? Damn. All right, you, sir, are either unwilling to or incapable of doing the intellectually heavy lifting. So again, this is so disgusting coming from this disgusting creature who hasn't researched Leibniz, he hasn't researched Descartes, he doesn't know anything about the arguments or what evidence was used to convince people. He knows nothing about the subject. This fucking goddamn piece of shit will sit there and call somebody else evading the heavy lifting. You've evaded it. You've believed because they told you so. You don't believe for any good reasons. You don't believe scalar and vector because you were there and you consulted on this nonsensical theory that somehow we're just going to declare this thing called an energy, which is obvious. It's going in one direction. And we're going to pretend that these these bizarrely different entities have these different capacities, that you can have reverse momentum, but you can't have reverse kinetic energy. You know, of actually considering what you might be wrong. Well, again, how do you explain the spaceship? I shoot the masses out. You're saying the kinetic energy is obviously more kinetic energy. Well, then it must obey Newton's third law, right? By your own logic. What does Newton's third law mean if it doesn't apply to kinetic energy? I don't think it means a fucking thing then, right? Oh, God, you're just so dishonest. Okay, which is also dishonest, he said. I mean, this whole considering that you might be wrong, that's like saying I should consider that I've misjudged the theory of evolution and I should be doubtful that the theory of evolution is actually a proven fact, and I should pretend that there might be some possibility that this storytelling about magic poofy gods or even the squirrel god or the maggot god, or that the whole universe was created by Gumby, or Donald Duck. Why should I be uncertain? Why should I sit here and pretend I don't realize that there's absolutely no evidence for your theory and momentum works perfectly? The alternative theory, the theory Newton and Descartes and Galileo got right answers with, works perfectly. I have no reason to doubt it. Your theory gives it nothing. It doesn't provide any, it works so much better with that square. No, it works so much worse. Oh, God. You can't land on the moon with that frickin' MV squared crap. All right. I've given my criteria for moving forward. I've given mine. I'll pay you, and you're still running away. Oh, and continuing the conversation. The exchange of ad hominem attacks. There's not much else. I've made counter arguments. You've evaded them. There's no other place for me to go except to, gee, you suck. I'm sorry, that's all I have left, okay? When you completely evade my argument and pretend you answered my video by doing a cliche, standard Professor Lewin video, and that somehow that addresses what I've said or my counter arguments to the exact same experiments, I mean, that's just bullshit. That's not a conversation. That's an evasion. Make an actual prediction. Oh, fucking god damn. Yeah, I predict the spaceship stays going straight and the kinetic energy doesn't mean a goddamn thing. I shoot the bullet out one side, the recoil of the gun out the other side. Yeah, spaceship goes straight because it's the same fucking momentum. Okay, and your kinetic energy can't do any work. It can't turn a spaceship. It can't make bowling pins fall down. It can't make buildings fall down. It can't do anything. And you've never proved it can do anything. And you've never proven it takes 4 times the fuel to go twice as fast. God damn it. For the outcome of a specific experiment. Oh, sucks. Every one of my points is an outcome to a specific experiment. I'm claiming levers conserve momentum. Absolutely always. Okay, I'm claiming that gears conserve momentum. There's an old Chevrolet video I found from the 50s, so I'm going to play that eventually in one of these videos to get to it. But it doesn't overtly say, look, the transmission is perfectly conservative, but you get the idea. So it starts off talking about the lever because the gears are really just a bunch of levers. And so, yeah, they don't say, oh, we lost so much energy to. No, they don't say any of that. Every time they go up in gear ratio, we lose a ton of energy. We lose half the energy. No, they don't say any of that crap. Let's see. Being a substantial rebuttal to the experiments I've demonstrated. So again, I've already rebutted the experiment, okay, as being theoretical crap. Okay, there's no such thing, okay, as making free momentum in a direction, and if you do it, it can be capitalized on. That means you can make a free energy machine. It's absolutely ludicrous to say I can increase the momentum going this way for free. Just put it in the magic box, and then I can do the magic box again and again and again and again and again. I can just keep increasing the momentum. And it would be idiotic for me to say, well, I've increased the momentum and I haven't created more energy. Of course I have. I've created something that could do more work. Okay, or better yet, spend some of the money you say you've offered for a discussion to some experiment to actually measure the values you claim. So your physics doesn't have to produce anything called a piece of reasonable evidence, but mine does. And you, even though you're millions of people and billions of dollars and all kinds of laboratories and all kinds of hardware, you shouldn't have to do any experiments, but I should. What a pile of crap. The experiments are already out there, most of them, many of them, right? And what we're really looking for is those direct experiments that actually show it. So I could show you the Mythbusters experiment, okay? So I'll trust you to accept that I'm not lying, okay? They crashed the same car into a brick wall. One car going 50 miles an hour, next car 100 miles an hour, twice the compression of the car, okay? Then they used clay, and they created a smashing machine to smash clay. And so at twice the velocity, they got twice the compression of the clay, because they weren't putting round things into the clay. No, they were just smushing the clay. So I can point to that experiment. I could say, well, that's a pretty good indication. I mean, zero indication of the kinetic energy theory being true. Zero. I mean, right almost on perfect for momentum being in control. Momentum deciding how much car gets bent. And the very fact, that you could do these experiments, in the sense I could show you the kind of a simple Newton's cradle one, where you have the two things crash into each other, the 5 mass going 10 and the 10 mass going 5. You have those two things crash into each other, and the collision stays right there. The collision doesn't move this way, it doesn't move that way. Okay, if it's twice the energy, wouldn't the rational expectation be that the force of the impact has to move in the direction of the thing that has twice the energy? So these are all counter experiments, so this is a lie that I have to do them. We already have examples, and frankly some of them I have done, so it's just more bullshit. The point is we want them done precisely and well. And you don't seem to be an advocate for that. You say they all should be a bunch of amateur shit experiments. No, I say let's do it really precisely and get the truth for a change. All right. Being substantive rebuttal to the experiments I've demonstrated. Or better yet, spend some blah, 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 blah. Okay. Offer for experiment to actually measure the values you claim, such as redoing the experiments that I've done. So I've done that experiment, shit for brain. Sorry. So, the fact is it's in the annals. Okay, I built an air track, a little different design. I used round PVC, blah, 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 blah. I also did it with a ballistic pendulum. Okay, so I made a very long pendulum with big steel bars, banged them into each other. No sign of this free momentum did I discover, but what I did discover is both experiments have variables that can fuck it up. Like I was doing frame rates and the steel bars were twisting a little, which made, the frame rate's imprecise because of the viewing angle. And in the case of the air track, I realized that the air track is producing a new source of energy, frankly. To evade the friction, I'm adding energy to the system. And the fact is all that little scooter has to do is turn a little bit, and it creates an exhaust, and it creates another source of energy. So I didn't get very perfect numbers. And so the experiments were blah. And that's the whole fucking point. They should be done well. Okay. Not with clay blobs on them like MIT did it. Until then, this proverbial, that's what it says, playing chess with pigeons, I don't even understand that reference, is getting old. So again, it's your characterization. This is an argument that took place 350 years ago. Newton didn't like mv squared. He had his advocates do a lot of arguing. Okay? The fact is, this was not some accepted thing. Voltaire he was in love with Chardonnay, and the fact is this was a huge wedge between them. All right, and it sort of wrecked their relationship in a lot of ways. So this isn't a minor subject in the sense that this is a real subject, and the fact is the debate hundreds of years ago was kind of shitty. And we can do the debate much better because we can actually produce real evidence. It's a huge, giant difference and a giant advantage. Because they got away with dropping round things into clay. And they got away with, hitting, rolling things. Where Galileo already explained why it rolls 4 times the distance. It's because it's going twice as fast, okay? It's not because it's 4 times the energy. You don't need 4 times the energy to go twice as fast. You just need twice as much energy to go twice as fast. And the consequence is, once you're going twice as fast in friction caused by gravity, the fact is you're only in the gravity twice as long to go 4 times the distance. You only had to fight 2 units of friction, not 4 units of friction. You didn't do as much work as you think you did because the friction is a lot less when you're going a lot faster. I mean, I've already explained all this, but again, and with no counter argument. Are you going to counter argue that friction is linear? That it doesn't matter how fast I go across the surface, the friction, the amount of energy I'm losing to the ground is always the same per foot? Are you really going to make that argument? Are you going to evade the fact that I just presented that argument and you're going to evade it again? I mean, this is just such bullshit. All right. Well, I feel better because I addressed this crap. But this is the crap it always turns into, okay? This is the crap. I'm an idiot because I don't believe what you say. Because I'm saying show me, okay? And show me in some kind of direct way. Don't show me in some convoluted way where I'm going to drop a weight over there, and then I'm going to have a bouncing clown over here, and then I'll have a flip-flopper over here, and that'll prove that this is twice as much energy as that. When, no, all you have to do is balance the lever, okay? All right, create a balance and then bang things into it and tell me it doesn't conserve momentum. Then the argument's over. Shit. All right, so enough of a video. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, I really would like this argument to take place, but it can't happen if no one ever counters my argument. No one ever answers the question, what happens to the spaceship? I shoot the 10 mass going 5 out one side, the 5 mass going 10 out the other side. What happens? I'm going this way. What happens to the spaceship? If you say it continues going straight, do you understand that that means your energy can't do work, that it's useless, that it's completely non-existent because it can't do the most elemental thing it should be able to do, which is move the spaceship's direction. It should change the spaceship's direction. If it can't do that, it can't be energy. Shit. God, this planet is just so, it is so fucked. I mean, these pompous, arrogant, douchey intellectuals. Ugh. They haven't done the hard work of actually conceiving of any of this on their own. That's the huge advantage I have, right? It's because to me, it's always been shit, and I've always wanted to understand it elementally, and I was never satisfied because none of their explanations are elemental. Pull universe? What do you mean a pull universe? It can't be a pull universe. Pull is how do I pull on something? What the fuck? What do you mean pull? What do I pull with? I'm a little elemental thing in the universe. What the fuck do I pull with? I don't have arms. But yeah, I can headbutt the motherfucker. I can push on him. So it started there. I mean, this is all just so simple, and they've turned it into such a convoluted pile of shit. Alright. So, enough of it. Till the next time, and such, and so forth, and whatnot. I'm sorry if you're offended. I'm sorry if you don't like my attitude. I'm sorry. But I've years of this evasion, years of message boards, bullshit, everybody just evading the simple task. Draw the lever and explain where the momentum goes. When I failed to make the 5 mass move at twice the velocity, when that fails to happen, where did the energy go? Where did the momentum go?